This is the video recap dealing with Chapter 38 of our text, which addresses limited liability companies and rounds it out with other special types of business forms. But first up, limited liability companies. This is a fairly recent creation of statute, and the laws differ from state to state as we discussed in class. It's a hybrid, though, that combines the best of both worlds of a corporation and a partnership. With regard to a partnership, you have from a tax standpoint, it's a pass-through entity in which the individuals and the members of the limited liability company are taxed. So there's no what they call double taxation, which we'll see and we'll talk about in corporations in the next few chapters. On the other hand, when it comes to liability, there's little to no personal liability on the part of the members of the limited liability company, and that's similar to corporations. So it's a hybrid, combining the best of both worlds of both partnerships and corporations. The LLC is formed in compliance with various state laws, and while there is a uniform LLC piece of proposed legislation, each state had their ability to review that and make any tweaks or changes that they wanted to. So the downside is that it does vary from state to state. There's no real uniform LLC law that covers all 50 states. How do you form an LLC? Well, similar to a corporation or a limited partnership, you file articles of organization with the Secretary of State in whichever state you want to file it. For the purpose of jurisdiction, excuse me, you're able to file a lawsuit in any state in which a member is a citizen. So if you have an LLC in which the members of the LLC live in California, Arizona, and Nevada, the lawsuits may be filed in those respective states where the members live. And that distinguishes it from, say, a corporation, which we'll talk about in subsequent sessions. The advantages of an LLC, again, limited liability, but flexibility in taxation. You can choose to either have it done taxed as a partnership with a pass-through entity, or do taxing like a corporation. But really, why would you want to be taxed like a corporation and do double taxation? Disadvantages of the LLC is that, again, the laws are not uniform from state to state. Let's see what else we're dealing with here. When it comes to management, a lot of times people who are members of an LLC choose to manage their own company. In that situation, that is a member-managed company, or sometimes they'll hire an outsider to manage the LLC for them, and that would be a manager-managed type of companies. When you have members of an LLC, they have the same fiduciary duties of care and duties of loyalty that we talked about in the various types of partnership entities. A duty of care to not make gross negligent decisions when they decide how to use the LLC. And when it comes to a duty of loyalty, you have a fiduciary duty of loyalty to the LLC and the other members of that LLC, and cannot engage in some type of conduct that would be viewed as a conflict of the interest. When the LLC is set up, after the document is filed with the Secretary of State's office, usually the members put together an operating agreement that's also filed with the state, and it lists various types of things, information that's included in that operating agreement, and I believe what that all entails is referenced on page 729 of the text, so you'll want to take a look at that. When it comes to dissociation and dissolution of an LLC, it's very similar to a partnership. You have the power to dissociate, but not necessarily the right to dissociate. And certain events in the agreement, listed in the agreement, can trigger the dissociation as well. The effects of dissociation, it affects a member's ability to participate and act as an agent for the LLC. Their duty of loyalty ends. However, the duty of care regarding any decisions they made prior to the dissociation the duty of care still does remain in effect, and there could be potential liability depending upon what those decisions were in connection with the duty of care. Let's see. And again, like a partnership, the dissociating member can be bought out, like the partners buy out the member that's leaving, or the other members of the LLC can choose to dissolve the LLC to wind it up and shut it down. And that is, again, similar to a partnership in that you take all the assets of the LLC, sell them, liquidate them, take that cash and pay off all of the creditors that are involved in the LLC, including members who might be creditors. And then whatever's left, you divide up and pay out to the members usually based upon their pro rata share of investment in the LLC. So that pretty much winds up what an LLC is about. Let's also talk about the various types of business forms that are in the text, and you'll want to look at page 739 for some assistance in that area. You've got joint ventures, syndicates, joint stock companies, business trusts, and cooperatives. And again, page 739 gives you a great synopsis of what those different entities are all about, and you'll want to know the definition of each one of those for the upcoming exam. These types of business forms are still used, although not as often as, say, an LLC or partnerships, limited partnerships, and corporations, but you need to know what they are and what their definitions are, so I leave that to you. That pretty much wraps up this particular chapter, chapter 38, and the next video recap will deal with chapter 39. In the meantime, take care, stay well, Bollinger out.